In May 1961, Kennedy's stubborn resolve to appear vigorous in public betrayed him. A tree planting in Canada required only a ceremonial gesture, but Kennedy dug in and badly strained his injured back. It couldn't have happened at a worse time. He would be dependent on massive injections of painkillers as he faced Soviet Premier Nikita Khrushchev in Vienna. Kennedy had hoped this summit meeting would change the course of the Cold War.
Kennedy thought that when he and Khrushchev sat down in a room and closed the doors, that they could work out some sort of political deal that would keep the Soviet Union and the United States from being in confrontation during the Kennedy years.
But Khrushchev was in no mood to bargain. The Bay of Pigs had convinced him that Kennedy, who was younger than Khrushchev's son, could be intimidated. The Soviet premier threatened to cut off access to West Berlin and stem the tide of refugees fleeing communism for freedom in the West. Kennedy emerged from the meeting appearing composed, but in fact he was shaken. Khrushchev had warned the president if he tried to intervene in Berlin, there would be war.
I stood on the doorstep with others when Kennedy came out. And Kennedy seemed to me absolutely dazed. And as it happened, he came out and he looked me into my face, but I had a feeling that he didn't even recognize me. He was so dazed.
Kennedy returned home, still stunned by his encounter with Khrushchev. He called up the reserves and warned the country to prepare for nuclear attack. Talking to him that summer, Aide remembered, was like talking to a statue. Instead of seizing West Berlin, Khrushchev built the Berlin Wall to stop the flow of refugees. The crisis eased. A wall, Kennedy said, is a hell of a lot better than a war. Still, the president feared he had failed to convince Khrushchev of American resolve. We have a problem in making our power credible, he told a newspaperman, and the place to do it is Vietnam. In a decision that would be among the most fateful of his administration, he tripled the number of military advisors sent to South Vietnam. In the fall of 1961, American troops were on alert in Berlin. American advisors were on their way to Vietnam. And Operation Mongoose continued against Cuba, as what Robert Kennedy called a very mean year drew to a close.